Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Jake Rouse Show. Today, my guest is Kyle Bohrer. Over the last 5 or 7 years, I've gotten to know Kyle a bit more. And in that time, I've grown to have a great deal of respect for his smarts, his community mindedness, and his community minded actions, his business acumen and instincts, and a lot of other admirable traits. Uh, there's part of me as I was putting this show together in my head that was something that said, it isn't a question of whether you know Kyle, it's a question of how you know him. Do you know him from high school, college, family, friends, playing sports together, coaching? Or do you know him through his business interests like Unishippers and Gordons and Firestones? And then through his service in the community, namely through the nonprofit he created along with a colleague and friend of his, Rob Cashone, called Build Better Fields. Um, he's active in the community. He's positive about the community. He's not afraid of challenges. Um, he's devoting a significant amount of his time to make our community better. And a lot of people have heard me say on this show that in sports, in business, in life, the ball finds energy, and the ball is definitely finding Kyle's energy. And I'm excited to hear directly from him about his journey, how he has done what he's done to date, what he's doing now, and where his plans are and thoughts are for the future of himself and his business and the community. So I'm excited. I hope you enjoy this. If you don't know Kyle, I think you'll be excited too that he's here swinging away on our side, helping to make things better. Let's go. Kyle, welcome to the Jake Rouse Show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. I sent you a quote the other day, and I wanted to get your feedback on it. The gap between knowing what you want and going after it is where fear thrives. You don't need to have enough courage for the entire journey. You only need the courage for the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your thoughts on that. I think you've lived that a little bit.
Yeah, I think I would say my business career has been considered risk tolerant. um, so yeah, the biggest thing I kind of always have focused on and still focus on is you always want to have a long-term goal, right? You want to win, whether it's win the game, win the championship, build a business, have success. You can't control those events down the road in the moment, right? You have to, and I think that's a lot of times where fear, in that I think what that quote's talking about, fear is a byproduct of uncertainty. And I think when you're focusing so far down the road and looking at a goal that you eventually want to get to, it can get intimidating. It can get your brain spun out in the wrong direction. And what I've always done is I focus on the now. You can only focus on today, right? So, and being a small business owner, you're going to get thrown curveballs on a daily, monthly, weekly, daily basis that you don't even know, some of them that are about to hit you. So the only thing you can kind of do is handle the circumstances that you're dealing with right at the moment, and take care of those for small wins. And then when you pick your head up after a week, after a month, after a quarter, after a year, you look up and you say, "Oh wow, things are going pretty well."
Yeah. The courage for the next step. What flashed through my head on that was this was my introduction into sports. I was walking home from school at the end of fourth grade, and some fifth graders started chasing us. And I took off like a deer with some other guys, and I ran into that guy, Tom Rupcheski. I'll never forget it. Hank.
Okay.
His nickname is Hank.
Hopefully he's a listener.
Yeah. And I remember that he said to me, he was like, "Hey, you're pretty fast. You should come out and play football." And I'm not a big guy, but back then I was like Marvin the Martian.
Yeah.
I was fucking small.
Yeah.
And but kind of what speaks to me there is I was scared shitless, but I went out and played football, and I was not good, but changed my life.
Yeah.
It just once, plowing through that discomfort and that fear.
It's huge.
And
Yeah.
and so I want to get to that step where you jump into the business community but before we get there, you grew up in Erie.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about the who Kyle Bohrer was before he got into the Unishipper game,
Mm-hmm.
and where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And then because you've gone to school here in Erie, and kind of when you were a kid, what were you thinking that you would want to do, and now what you're doing today? So just give me a little bit of a backstory. Give the audience a backstory on you.
Yeah, Kyle Bohrer. I am married to Allison Bohrer. Allison Felix was her maiden name. We have 3 kids, Ella, Everett, and Will. Everything's great there. My mom and dad, Joe and Kim Bohrer, still with us, and everything's going great there too. So I was born in Erie, raised, and never left. So I was actually born on the east side, Genesee Avenue, over off of East 38th Street. We lived there until about school age, and then my parents moved into the Mill Creek Township.
Where's Genesee?
It's like
give me it relative to St. Luke's. Okay, all right. I grew up on East Grandview, so
yeah, like CYS Club. It's in between East,
yeah,
like
Red Fox
Water
Inn.
Tower. Yeah, right. not too far.
Burton Park.
Chippers, a little you can get it down away from there. Yeah. So I mean, I grew up in a one worker house. My dad's a tool maker. My mom was some secretary jobs here and there, but mostly a stay-at-home mom. We didn't have a lot of money, but my dad worked 1 million hours a week, and he was a grinder, and he was a tool and die grinder. But they worked their butts off to get us into Mill Creek so we could go to Chestnut Hill, and then went to J.S. Wilson, McDowell, and went to Mercier's for college. I was a cross-country and track runner, ran for them, and I was a hooper in high school too. So, and then I never really wanted to leave. I mean, we just,
when you went to Mercier's, when you went in, what was your degree?
I went to school for political science.
All right.
So, yeah, poli-sci,
Same
pre-law. Yeah, it was going to be.
Which means you have to go on for something else.
Right. I was going to be an attorney. That's what I wanted to be. I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't a great student. I kind of did enough to get by, and I was smart enough to get by, but I wasn't lighting the world on fire in that department. And
You know what's funny is as my kids have gotten older, and it's like I don't want to say scarred. It's kind of like I know where I am. Like I'm in like the 70th percentile. That's who I am.
Yeah.
And so when somebody says, it's like, I know I'm not smart. I mean, like I had multiple years of my test scores coming in. I wasn't the 50 percentile. I was like the 70th percentile.
Yeah.
I wasn't 90th. So
I would say I'm very similar. Yeah, that's kind of where I lived. But it's awesome when you're self-aware.
Yes.
That's when you can start building teams around you. We can go down that road later, but it's good to be self-aware. I learned that pretty quickly, but I didn't get into law school. I didn't even apply. I knew I wasn't gonna. So stayed in town and worked for New York Life Insurance, selling life insurance down 100 State for Billy Vitron hired me.
Nice.
So I'm still friends with him to this day. Worked there for, I don't know.
Great guy.
Handful of months. Then I was at Nationwide for a couple years. Then I got into the bank channel. I was at Citizens Bank, PNC Bank. But met my wife, and we just decided never to leave. I mean, both our sets of parents were here. We loved. In fact, we didn't even want to leave my neighborhood, so we bought a house.
Where was your neighborhood? Where did you when you moved
when
to
her and I
Mill Creek?
J.S. Wilson, right by Gordon's. So
Oh,
we're
right.
right by
Yeah,
J.S.
yeah.
Chestnut Hill. My parents live on 50th and Dorchester.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and right by Gore, And my second house when we moved into Mill Creek was on Mineo, just same neighborhood. And then now I built a house 100 feet from my parents. So I love my neighborhood.
Clearly, yeah, you should be the head of the
Right.
neighborhood association if you haven't already.
Nah, neighborhood watch. I don't think they have an association, but we'll keep it that way.
What was tell me the timetable of, going to work for Billy and, New York Life and Nationwide and then the banking stuff. How many years was that?
2003 to 07, so 4.
Okay.
I got my Series 7. I started at the bank, opening checking accounts and doing sales and service work. Studying for my Series 7, got that. Citizens was good, but I was really young, and there wasn't really much of a book there, and I just kind of, it was a good starting block, you know. And then Gary Winchell actually hired me at PNC Bank, and I was there for about 6 months. I was setting records, lighting the world on fire, doing great, but I was a 5-year-old moron, and my paperwork was garbage, and the auditors hated me, and I got shown the door.
Really?
Yeah, it was during the time of regulation, and it was a tough time to be in financial
Wait, that's
services.
right. So
7,
when did you
8.
graduate from high school?
99. I graduated college in 03, and this was like 07.
All right, so
6,
yeah,
7.
you're right.
It was
Yeah, that's right.
things were tough. Market was tanking. Everything was, so it was a smack in the face. I lost my job. I was 6 months away from getting married. Our wedding was 6 months away. I lose my job. I meet, my wife's father is Ken Felix. He owns the Glenwood Pet Hospital. He's like one of the most respected dudes in Erie. And I'm like, I don't have a job.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of scary. I was bartending at Kakwa, Plymouth, doing anything I could just to kind of find some side cash.
I was with my old work colleague, Colleen Gross, and she said, Colleen Zemzek Gross, and she goes, Kyle used to work down here. We were having a get together at the Plymouth. And she said,
clean. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, I was the first ever male server there before I bartended.
Really?
That's a fact, yeah. The Plymouth alumni will get a kick out of it if they hear it, but yeah, I was the first ever male waiter.
Were you ever sexually harassed?
By the cooks and the shit. Yeah, they were assholes. But
so you were scrapping.
Yeah, scrapping, grinding, doing anything I could. In fact, I got I came down to Unishippers offered me a job, and Airlick, the pest control.
Oh yeah,
and they were both sales jobs, and I actually wanted the Airlick job. It was $40,000 a year with a Chevy Malibu, and that was a better package than Unishippers at the time. I needed it, and I didn't get it because the guy said I was overqualified. So I took the Unishippers job, and that was really my option at the time. And I just went to work. I was kind of a man on fire after that.
So, tell me more about Unishippers. I mean, and when you got the job, was it a matter of, did you have a bricks and mortar facility here in town and it already existed, and who owned it, or was it a matter of you were just a regional salesperson for?
Yeah, it was. I was the local sales rep, so I was the Erie sales, consultant there at the time. Was no office. I worked out of my house, 1,000 square foot house on Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a tray table in my bedroom in Cape Cod with the slanted
ceiling.
And it was less than ideal, but
you were working from home, which is now common. But
I know it was
back
insane
then.
back then, and I hated it. I love being around people. So I would go and talk to the dry cleaning ladies, and if anybody, I'd go to the grocery store and I'd work there because I just didn't like not being around people.
Yep.
But so I was outside sales for them. And I was basically, Unishippers is the third largest privately held logistics company in North America. So very big.
Give me an idea who the other two are.
C.H. Robinson, and you got me on the first one, to be honest with you. But we actually just had a merger. So Wex Group is our holding company, which just merged with ShipStation. Stamps.com, Octane is the name of the company, but they basically took us. We were like a $6 billion company. They were an $8 billion company. They just merged us. So we're $14-15 billion right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is the estimate coming out. That just happened literally last week.
When you say logistics company, because I had Yuri on here from Logistics Plus, so tell me what Unishippers, what you guys, like, is it the same situation where you're moving everything?
Yeah, identical in that there are no Logistics Plus trucks. There are no Unishippers trucks, right? So we're third-party logistics companies. We're in the same playground. We're not really kind of hanging out on the same,
Sure.
parts of it. Logistics Plus does a lot of international. They're involved in a lot of warehousing. They do, larger container shipping, big stuff. They do LTL, and they do some trucking, but not much as we. That's like where we live. So we don't do a lot of international. We don't do a lot of container airline freight. Most of what we do is small parcel. So we were the first and we are the largest reseller of UPS. So small package shipping with UPS, we're it. I mean, we go out and we are basically one of their largest factions of their sales team. So that's very unique. UPS never allowed anybody to represent their shield that they're very proud of.
So you're selling the UPS services, the products.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we take our $3 billion spend with UPS. We leverage that with UPS to get pricing that most small, mid-sized businesses couldn't get on their own.
So if somebody's let's say a retail business and they're going to be shipping product, they'd want to talk to you because shipping costs, if they're eating them, they need to. It'd be worth talking to Unishippers to help minimize their out-of-pocket expense.
Yeah, what's crazy was in the beginning, we dealt with, we had, law firms, car dealerships with parts and their documents when they sell a car, law firms obviously with their documents. But we would do a lot of work with manufacturing industrial type companies, pallets of freight, large boxes, heavy. This whole world of e-commerce that has happened in the last 5 years has become another just kind of shot of steroids in our arms, because now, Jake's Trinkets can turn into, $1 million business.
Yeah, opening
in their
soon.
garage, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have metal flag companies. We have companies making, all different types of stuff out of wood and just these little, mom and pops in a garage, and all of a sudden they're huge and they're shipping a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good customer for us.
Metal flag company. That's unique to Erie. Are you talking about? Oh gosh. I want to say it's Bronsko. Adam Stemka.
Yeah, he works with Sean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
but
it's cool.
You've kind of transitioned and you kind of jumped over something, which is you were a salesperson for Unishippers, but then you started talking about we are.
Yeah.
So there was an ownership switch, or tell me about how did you get into? Because I know you've owned a Unishipper franchise here in the community for a while.
Actually, today is what, the 10th? June 1st was my 20th year, so that's pretty cool. As employed there, 2009-ish, about 2 years in, myself and three of the other employees at the time. Truckload wasn't a big thing, and full truckload shipping was not a big thing at Unishippers. So we entrepreneurially went out and started our own truckload brokerage. We thought it was a great idea, and corporate did not. So they came up to us and basically said, "Hey, we appreciate your guys."
Chutzpah.
Yeah, right. But you got to wrap it in. So they said, "Hey, we have these couple franchises. We'll give them to you, and you can just dump the business in there." So that's how I became an owner. And I was a partner in, not actually one that I worked for, but I worked my way into that. One of the partners wanted to get out. I borrowed money from my father-in-law. And
was this locally or is this outside the market?
This was the Erie franchise.
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted to leave, and it worked out. I liquidated my daughter's 529 plan, and I borrowed money off my father-in-law's line of credit. I mean, it just went all in. And it was crazy. So I bought a piece of Erie and Buffalo, actually, at the time. Just kept going, was working nonstop and really growing the market. And we were doing good. We had a lot of really, really good years. We were consistently top performer in the country. So it worked out.
Amazing.
It was a dice roll, though, and a scary one at that.
Yeah, if I remember, then did you go beyond Buffalo and Erie? Did you have another one? And then there was something where I thought that they came back and said, "Hey, we're
going to buy you out.
We're going to buy you out because we don't really want to have the franchise."
Yeah, it
situation.
used to be, Unishippers used to be very territorial. So like you owned Erie, no one else could sell in Erie. and you sold in your territory. So at the time we started buying, this is once I got some traction, right? We started really, and we started buying a bunch of different franchises around the country. So we bought Erie, Buffalo, Rochester. We owned Columbus, Cleveland, Milwaukee.
What?
Yeah,
You owned?
Yeah, not solely, but at a
A
partnership group. Yeah.
Yeah. So how
And
many total did you end
we
up
had
owning?
14 at one time.
No shit.
Yeah. We were doing, I don't know, 60, 70 million a year in revenue. So pretty good.
Whoa.
Just for a 5-person group, it wasn't a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then corporate said, hey, we're going to tear down the walls. We're going to let everybody sell wherever they want. In the logistics space and Berlin and the guys at LP, I mean, they know well, and they're on the good end of it. You're either growing or you're dying in logistics. And these guys who stay stagnant, you get just swept up. So they took down the walls at Unishippers. They said anybody can sell anywhere. There's no more dirt. And at that time, then we
so
were private
you're saying
equity.
they took down the walls because they said we can't. In order for us to stay in the game and grow, we have to kind of let all the animals fight amongst each other to get all the business possible.
Well, but if you think about it, there were some guys that would own a franchise.
Not that you're an animal.
No,
just,
but I wasn't one of the animals for sure. But there were guys that would buy a franchise in 1990. They sold for a good solid 10 years, and then they would sit on their dirt like an annuity.
Yep.
And they didn't care,
Which, if you just as an aside, one of my biggest concerns of Northwest Pennsylvania has been that they're successful, profitable businesses, and people got a camp, they got their kids' college paid for, they're done.
Yeah.
Right?
So they don't really have to tax it.
Right. So, but they've got regular income coming in. And so mentally, mindset-wise, I love, your generation and younger coming in and saying, no, I'm a little, I use the term greedy, and people bristle at that. But my feeling is it's like you got to have people who are hungry and want to double and triple the growth of a business here in the Erie market. That's what helps.
Well, Gordon Gekko said something about that
That's
word,
exactly right. Yeah. So they're taking down the boundaries. And so how did you guys respond to that? What was your thought process?
So at the same time, we got acquired by private equity. So Unishippers as a holding company, we went into the world of private equity, which I don't know how much if your listeners know about, but it's 5 to 7 year runs, pump it, dump it, and flip it.
Yeah,
and make
meaning
money,
pump,
right?
grow it, and then sell it
and make money, right? So, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the first run. So we had, at the time, I owned Cleveland, half of Cleveland, and the person who owned all of Ohio sold. He was actually the president of Unishippers at the time. So when he did sell, I ended up getting units in the PE firm and the PE fund, and that was a really, really good start.
It's in the private equity fund.
Yeah, in the private equity fund. So that was really cool. So now I was playing both sides. I owned franchises on the business side, and I owned units of the actual fund that held us. So walls down, grow like hell, and then we merged with Worldwide Express, who was our biggest competitor, which was insane because we were in just
this is happening at a rapid pace.
Rapid. I mean, this is all within 7 years. And we merged with our nemesis. I mean, literally, we hated each other. And now we're brother and
Primary
sister.
competitor.
Yeah. And Worldwide Express and us made a run for probably another 6-7 years, and then we just this deal that just happened. But we were a $300 million company then, which, to give you an idea, like LPs, I think pushing $1 billion.
Yeah, they're pushing $1 billion.
Yeah, so they're doing really, really good. I mean, they to grow
for everyone. That's Logistics Plus.
Yeah, Logistics
based here
Plus.
in Erie.
Such a good company. Good,
great.
Good, yeah, they're
great people.
Great
good
company in Erie. Yeah, and to grow to $1 billion in our industry is not easy. I mean, but to give you an idea of our size, I mean, we went from 300 million to 3 billion to 16 billion in just the time I've been here.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah,
it's really crazy.
So you're still an owner?
Yeah. Yep. So we've sold off. So now that we're private equity owned, like we do kind of go through transitions and rollovers. We'll come in and we'll roll over a piece of the business and just keep going, which is kind of nice because I think you and I have talked about this before, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit ago, was, company business owners in Erie sometimes have a hard time exiting their business, right? It's hard to part with because you have personal attachments
personal
to it. You're used to the money, it's not ready to be sold. You know what I mean? You don't know what it's worth. So there's a lot of different reasons why a person would have a hard time selling exiting their business in Erie or northwestern Pennsylvania. The nice thing about us is the multiple on the EBITDA is already it's pre-negotiated, and the end dates are already pre-negotiated. So we just go and we keep growing and we keep working, and private equity just kind of scrapes it every 5, 6, 7 years, and just keep going.
You're talking with your Unishipper business.
Yeah, Unishipper.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're never gonna really, I don't think, go anywhere. I think we're just gonna keep going, and they just kind of scrape off some, I don't know, muscle every so bit, and it's for us. It's really, it took a lot of stress away because you don't have to worry about when. I had to worry because I'm a little young.
Yeah.
But some of the older guys, it was really nice. They're just like, well, I know when I'm going to exit, and then we've planned accordingly, right? So I have the two guys. I have another guy who's my age, and we took out the older guys, and then we brought in the younger guys that have been doing really well. Me of 10 years ago, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We've empowered them. We've made them partners.
Oh, great! So they have an ownership stake as well.
Absolutely. So now Sean Hoffman and Mikey Duquette down in Florida, those are us 10 years ago, and they're killing it. They're doing a really good job. And I know my I know my walk down
so
over the next 10 years.
Because there's no walls, you guys can find customers anywhere.
Yeah, we're selling all over the place. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool. How many total bodies are kind of affiliated with under your flag, if you will?
Yeah. So we have we just hired our 15th and 16th sales consultants. So we have 16 sales reps, all outside, inside, outside, kind of hybrid model. We're very aggressive. A lot of people in the logistics space, there's sometimes farmers and there's sometimes killers, right? The farmers are the ones kind of going out and delivering donuts and saying, hey, if we can help you out here, let me know. Our guys are very acquisition based. So it's a high output gig. And then we have an operations department down in Florida. Flexes between 40 and 50 employees down there. They're the ones doing more of the operational work.
And is that under your umbrella, or is that part of the Unishippers or whatever, the corporate entity?
It's called UMS. It's like an outsourced group. It was actually one of.
So do you contract with them and pay them an admin fee to handle your stuff?
Yep. And it actually was started by one of the employees of our group.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I mean, one of my best friends. So he was just an operational employee, and he said, well, I'm going to go out and start my own operations company and operate for other franchise owners. So he does that now.
And so do you have a piece of that organization?
I wish. No.
Yeah.
I didn't think smart enough.
So he can offer that then to anybody who's in.
I think he's working with over 100 franchises.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Great.
And corporate ended up having to buy him out when they did their last transition, and he got a chunk of that too.
Oh, it's too bad.
Yeah.
It's too bad they had to hand him a pile of cash.
Yeah, and he's going for a ride now, so it'll be
Yeah.
all right.
It's a very cool story. Obviously, embedded in that is just full-on hard work.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to, take a swing. But, I think it's interesting going back to the quote we started with. It's like every day there's something that's giving you some trepidation or, is in your way, and you just got to step through it, right? There's really no other way.
Sales is hard. You know what I mean? Being in acquisitional sales is not an easy gig, and that's why it's so rewarding. Acquisitional.
When you say
guys,
acquisitional sales, tell me how would you define that?
Well, I think there's two types of sales, right? There's hunters and farmers. So hunters are the ones going out and finding the business.
Finding new business.
You don't
winning
work
that
with us
business,
and
right?
winning it.
They're shipping something, but now you've got to acquire that business from them.
And then there's a farmer type sales role, which is making sure they're happy, making sure you're getting everything you can from them.
Yeah.
Growing
Inside
the relationship. Yeah. So, grinding in an acquisitional hunter-like sales job is, I would leave my house. I'd make 200 plus 150 dials every Monday. I'd leave my house at 4:35 in the morning on Tuesday and drive to Rochester. At that point in time, I had Erie, Buffalo, and Rochester. So I would leave my house at 5 a.m., get up to Rochester. I'd have 10 plus meetings at different businesses up in Rochester, Kodak at the time, Xerox. Rochester was booming. It's really having a hard time now, but it was doing very well back then. Get done at 5, 6 o'clock, drive 2.5, 3 hours home, and be home at 7, 8. And, we had a young family at the time, but, just got through it. And so, yeah, it was challenging. There was a lot of hard work there and scary stuff, too. You're hitting your numbers, always got to be, growing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was challenging.
So let's shift a little bit because, you have that business model, and then you decide to acquire a very solid brand name here in the community in Gordon's, and maybe I missed some other entrepreneurial activities in there, but Gordon's is on a certain level a wildly different business.
Yeah, crazy. So in 2018, that was, I think I spoke about it when I had a large amount of business go to corporate in the private equity structure, and that happened. They ended up at that time. I was offered to sell it all, so I could have sold out completely, and it would have been a good decision. But at the time, I was 39 years old, 38. I wasn't ready to be done. I wasn't at retirement age, so I kind of quickly realized, okay, if I'm going to do that, I have to find a job. And after banking and everything I kind of did in the corporate world, I knew I had to work for myself. I wasn't going to work. I didn't want to go work for anybody. So I had to buy a job. So I live in the J.S. Wilson Chestnut Hill neighborhood we talked about earlier, and there's this little meat market, 2,000 square feet, 40 years old, Gordon's in the old plaza, and I heard it was for sale. And I talked to Alex and Donna. I pulled them aside and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this. I was a foodie. I was a bartender. I worked in restaurants. But no, I never had any experience owning a restaurant or a meat market, or I never cut meat. I mean, no, I had no idea what I was doing. But I was like, I love this place. It's in my neighborhood. I know it can do well. I was a customer, you know. And I just started talking to Alex, and I wouldn't say it was in distress, but it was tired. I mean, Alex and Donna ran it for 30 years, you know what I mean? And that's hard work. So it was ready to get rolled over into somebody, and they were having a hard time finding somebody that wanted to do it.
Yeah.
No computers. I think we won Small Business of the Year in the Chamber Award up at Ambassador. I kind of joked, but it was true. No computers in the building. Everything was pen and paper. All records, all receipts, all. So I said, what does the business do? We have to evaluate it and figure out what it's worth. And there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing.
Right.
So
there's no way. No
said,
paper trail.
Nothing. So I said, okay, write down everything that comes in and write down everything that goes out, and I'll see you in 3 months. And that's what we did. And we sat down, and it was exactly what he said it was. And we made a deal. And at the time, I ended up not selling all of Unishippers, so I sold half. So I sold half of Unishippers and bought Gordon's, and that was in 2019. In the fall of 2019, we bought Gordon's. We were in the old plaza. There was no Firestones.
Unbelievable, man. Because fall of 2019, you buy Gordon's, and in March of 2020, COVID hits. Yeah. Crazy.
It was it was surreal.
Answer this for me. It's interesting because not only you're buying a business that is it's a grocery store, but it's a food processor. So the regulations to run something like that are just different than if you were just a corner store selling, packaged goods. When you're selling meat, I mean,
we were critical at the time, right? We were a critical store.
Yeah.
So we could operate, but then they ended up putting restrictions on us. We could only have 10 people in the building at a time, and then there was none. We had to do curbside only. So we had to kind of think on our feet. Right? We kept everybody healthy. Nobody got sick, which was awesome. Everybody made it through, which is great. I remember having conversations with the Ferrettis from Lee Common saying, hey, you make sure we get vaccines and beds, and I'll make sure your freezers are full. You know, kind of joking, but because Lee comes next door. But we got through, and to the credit of the staff and really my partner John Markley, He's the tech guy, and he had us. Once we go to curbside, we have no means of. So we get he gets us all the way to transacting business online. Gets us on a website. We were selling Erie boxes too, which is another product we sell, which is a bunch of Erie favorites we ship right to your house. He got those all online, so he got us, up to speed tech wise, and it was a blur. I mean, we were working it was crazy because nobody was working, and
But you were.
and I was working 12 hours, 14 hours a day, like coming home just exhausted.
It probably gave you an even greater appreciation for your Unishipper business because of all the people. Goods still had to keep moving.
But we were not critical, so they had to work from home.
Really?
Yeah. So Unishippers had to shut the office down, and they had to go work from home. We got PPP money, so we were able to stay open.
Mm-hmm.
We kept everybody fully staffed and paid. We didn't let anybody go, which was good. And we grew through it. We did have some customers that, we have a swing set company that we do a lot of shipping for. So there were people who shipped stuff like that. They were going like crazy.
Oh yeah,
because Jake's
fire pits.
Yeah, you're sitting at home. What are you gonna do? Well, I never wanted to build that swing set in my backyard,
but now I have time.
Might as well, right? Yeah. So there were certain industries that were keeping Unishippers going. We were bleeding, but not dead. And Gordon's was busier than it kind of ever was because it was weirdly busy. Like people were, fear buying. We were going through 10,000 pounds of ground beef a day. It seemed like, which we were the only ones. Not the only ones. There were a small handful of us actually grinding meat in Erie still.
Yeah.
A lot of the grocery stores don't. So we were like an outlet.
This isn't a fully formed thought because it kind of hit me in the last 5 seconds. But one of the things that was interesting and maybe a great example of the power of income into a community is pandemic relief flowing into the community was something that it was a great example, even though it was generated by the feds.
Mm-hmm.
The point being is that look at the activity that happened and the purchasing that happened and the money that churned in the community because of an injection of new dollars, unexpected dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so my point being is if you ever want a kind of a simple example of why economic development is so important and why folks are looking at, for instance, the potential of a shipyard in the community. That's an example of it. You inject new dollars flowing around, and it spreads. Everyone thinks like, oh no, it'll go into bank accounts and investments. It's like, no. It will activate and multiply.
Yeah, when you have to. That shipyard's not going to get built by nothing, right? There's going to be the steel fabricators, the hardware. There's
everything.
Everything.
Right.
Oh no, it all ripples, no doubt.
So you do Gordon's, but then you really have a very interesting place that I didn't realize until I was talking to another prospect recently on the real estate side. But you really have a unique space. You have a meat market, and I'm being liberal here.
Yeah.
A grocery store of
Yeah.
local products. By the way, when you did receive the award from the Chamber for Small Business of the Year, I thought it was really powerful when you spoke because there were other nominees in that category, and you had done you were selling their products at your business, which
Alice
it was a great call out.
It was cool, yeah.
But you have a meat market and a grocery store connected to a restaurant, a really fine restaurant, fantastic restaurant, and then to kind of a retail shop selling
like a beer and wine shop.
Beer and wine shop,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. That was kind of an interesting setup that spawned from in Melbourne, where my office is for Unishippers. There's a place on the water called Dijon's Public Market, and it's we're kind of long, it's up, right? So There's 3 stories, and the first floor is a grocery store, the second store is a wine and spirits shop, and the third floor is a restaurant. Almost identical.
Yeah.
And when I was down there, and I'd go, it was my favorite place to go. I love grocery shopping. Like I love like I said from the beginning, I'm a foodie. Even when I work from home at Unishippers, even to this day, like I enjoy going and figuring out what we're gonna cook for dinner tonight. That was my favorite part of COVID, actually, to kind of loop back around on that. There's a few good things that came out of that. My favorite being people cooking around their dinner table and spending time with each other and walking in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Remember people just going for walks?
Yeah.
And,
Never knew how many dogs were in my neighborhood
exactly.
until COVID.
Yeah, that was cool. So anyway, I have this idea. I come back. I'm just talking with my hands. So I have this idea. I come back and I said I want to somehow incorporate that. Martin Firestone was a really good friend of mine. Ryan Paris, also a really good friend of mine. Ryan ran the beverages at Wegmans.
At Wegmans, and Martin was the former chef at the
Erie Club and Lakeshore.
Lakeshore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I just Martin and I were going on an elk trip out to Chama, New Mexico, and I said to myself, when I come back from that trip, I'm going to have Martin bought in on this, and he did. So I just kind of said, hey, I actually asked him for Tim Grove's phone number, who owns
Q Abides.
And he said, what do you want Tim's number for? And I said, well, I'm going to put a restaurant in the meat market.
Was this a Jedi mind trick you were playing on him?
No, it worked that way, but it wasn't that sharp. And he said, what do you want his number for? And I said, well, I'm going to put a restaurant in the meat market. And he said, well, I want to do that. And I was like, hey, man, I think the quote that I said at that dinner, too, was I asked for Scottie Pippen's phone number. I didn't know Michael Jordan was available,
Nice.
And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And we drew it we both shot our elk on the same day. We sat by the fire and drew it up on a napkin, came home. There's a couple, strategic partners like Daryl Georger, who really made the dream come to fruition. And that building was for sale. We bought it. I remember Drew Baldwin was like, who are these guys? What do they want to do? And we just made it happen, and we built it during COVID, and we opened during COVID, which was completely insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
And speaking of injection, we got a $400,000 grant from the Fresh Food Initiative, which is controversial. Some people say we shouldn't have gotten it, but I would disagree. I mean, we're walking steps away from, poverty level, and we have fresh everything.
That's
and
amazing.
72 local vendors, and I can tell you right now, if we never would have got that project never would have happened.
Yeah. It's a catalyst. That's a great use of the dollars.
Yeah.
Let's transition a little bit, because you've first of all, congratulations and thank you for taking these swings. I mean, I know that you enjoy the challenge, and I know that you enjoy kind of creating new things and being in business, but you could have cashed out. You could have taken all your money, and you could have moved out of Erie. But your commitment to Erie and your love of the place, I think it's too often that people are doing things and we take it for granted. So thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But you're not just a business person. You continue to give back, and you have been very active in coaching over the years, and so more recently, you and Rob Cashone have created a nonprofit called Build Better Fields, which is a commitment to baseball. So just talk a little bit about your coaching journey, why you do that, and then talk about Build Better Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I was a basketball player my whole life and played for Pete Flynn. I was on the 99 McDowell team, and I just took so many lessons from that. I wasn't a starter. I didn't get a lot of minutes. But being on that team taught me so much, just about teamwork, execution, preparation. So to me, it was kind of a no-brainer. And then obviously I had my daughter and my two sons, and it was like, okay, I'm going to be a coach, and that's just going to be the way it is. And I got roped into it definitely a lot earlier than I expected to. I told Brian Fuller, who at the time was maybe the athletic director, I said, hey, Brian, I had a son.
Mill Creek, right?
Mill Creek,
Yep.
yeah. I said, I had a son. He's going to someday, I think he was in kindergarten at the time. He someday will be going to JS. If the basketball job ever opens up, I'd like to put my hat in the ring. He literally calls me like 2 weeks later, and he's like, "Hey, you can have the JS job." I'm like, "No, I was thinking more like 5, 6 years from now, right?" And he said, "No, it'll just be for a year. Kevin really needs you." Kevin O'Connor, the basketball coach at McDowell. I said, "Okay, well, I'll do it for a year or two and get somebody else."
How many years later?
No, it was 10 years ago. So yeah.
Are you done now?
Yeah, I'm officially done. So my son Everett graduated, or well, this year he's going to be done with 8th grade and he's going to 9th. So I'm hanging him up. Coach Stahan's going to take over for me for a few years, and I got Will, my 4th grader, so he'll be a 5th grader next year. I kind of have a wink with John Stahan that when he gets back into 7th, I might unretire, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of fun.
I'll tell you. At the end of every year, I was like, I'm done. This is it. I'm not doing it anymore. And every September, I was like, could not wait to get back in the gym. Kept me young. And
Yeah.
Erie winters are boring. There's not a lot to do. The weather's crappy. So you can get in the gym with a bunch of kids that are way younger than you, keep you in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it scratches the competitive itch.
oh, it sure
And
does.
You know that. Seeing me and Coach Marsh and some of the other guys, we're competing as much as the players are on the sideline.
But but it's also just fun for you because then these kids go on and they're playing at the high school level, and so I mean, all the kids playing at McDowell have a connection to you or Levi in some capacity.
Yeah, you're building an army. I mean, like these kids now. I mean, my first year coaching kids are graduating college this year.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, what? I think they're done. And I don't know. I've had 10 or 12 of them at least work for me at Gordon's. They come back for their summer jobs and work for me. And hey, coach, So it's great. They're all good boys, and I like just the part of their life that I got to be there for.
Yeah, coaches, people who coach need to recognize the powerful influence they can have on you in 4th and 5th, 6th grade, right?
Huge.
I mean, it is gigantic.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the most influential coach I ever had was my 5th grade basketball coach, and it started with him just picking me and allowing me to play, as I said, Marvin the Martian, but he changed all of those players, and everyone would say, like, to this day, it's like, who was your best coach ever? It'd be Doug Yeager, St. Luke's, JV basketball coach.
I think if you ask anybody, you hop into a corner bar and just grab a group of guys or gals, for that matter, and say, who's your favorite coach of all that you had? That'll instantly spur a conversation that'll go on for hours.
Yeah. And why?
Yeah.
It's great stories.
Yeah.
Talk about Bill Better Fields. Were you a baseball player?
No, in fact, the worst baseball player in Erie. Absolutely terrible. But my son, Will, is a baseball player, and
this is your youngest?
Youngest, yeah. And my middle one tried to play a little bit, but he just, it wasn't for him. But we were, actually, I think it was my middle one, had a fall ball game, and I said, hey, let's go down to JS and throw the ball around, just kind of warm up a little bit. Him and my little one, all three of us were going to go down. And we went down to J.S. Wilson's baseball field, which was abandoned, hadn't been played on in over 10 years. Bleachers falling apart, metal sticking out everywhere, backstop, a mess, just completely
Terrible.
Abandoned.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? Now, mind you, over the years of coaching and being involved in Mill Creek Township, I know, some of the right people at the township building and the school district to throw out a text and say, hey, what the heck is going on with this JS field? And at the time, my goal was Gordon's was just going to fix up the field, and it was going to be a donation from Gordon's to say, hey, this is for the neighborhood. So we sat down and had a meeting, and they kind of said, hey, do you want to do any more fields? And I'm like, what? Rob and I asked Rob to come with me, and we both sat down there, and they said, do you want to do any more fields? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, we have this field at Bell Valley that's also abandoned, and there's graffiti and drug use and kids partying in them because they're just unattended. And I'm like, okay, let me think about this. So I kind of went home and stewed on it a little bit. And at the time, my son was practicing down at Bayview, down on the waterfront.
Yeah. And
cars speeding up and down the road, and we had actually someone overdose on drugs right in front of the kids. And I'm like, this can't happen. Like, something has to change here. So I wanted to focus on getting these parks and these fields to be something that the neighborhoods are proud of. And
sure, it's a total compliment to the neighborhood.
100%. And I think people think that because something's run down, the neighborhood will run it back down if it gets nice again. And I don't believe that. I think if you make something nice, people are going to take care of it. So we created Bill Better Fields. My marketing prowess is I remembered Bill Better Boys baseball when
Right.
I was a little kid. I didn't play, but my cousins did. And I remember going to those games and just having a ball. There'd be people everywhere. And
It was fantastic.
yeah,
I
unbelievable.
used to go to the games off of Old French Road. There were 2 fields there. There was
That's
a
the field
2B.
we're doing right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
2B field, and there was a 3B field.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play. My friends played. And I would ride my bike over, and I would hang out.
Oh, yeah.
And, if I had a buck on me, I could get a snack or a drink or whatever. And everybody was riding their bikes there, and the parents were there. It was just fantastic.
I vividly remember my cousin Erin. We were watching my cousin Doug, her brother's baseball game on the big field, who ended up playing for Merciers. I vividly remember my cousin Erin putting Walkman headphones on my head and playing Beastie Boys' License to Ill and saying, "Listen to this, Kyle." And I remember being like, "Holy crap, this is awesome." But yeah, it was a memory I don't forget.
So you created a nonprofit.
Yeah,
So
I
you could get donations.
Yeah, so I created a nonprofit, Bill Better Boys. I'm like, I want to run something off that. So I take the Bill Better. I find out no one owns the Bill Better Boys trademark or franchise, and it's not owned by anything anymore. So I take the logo. I call a couple buddies and I said, "Hey, can you take boys off this and put fields on it?" So get it changed over. We create the new logo, Build Better Fields instead of boys. But that logo immediately pulls on heartstrings of so many people in this town because of what you and I just talked about.
Yep.
So I had the marketing. I had the 501c3 set up, and then it was like, okay, let's go to work. So I would go to Mill Creek, and I said, I think we can do this. They sign over those 2 fields for $1 to me for a dollar lease for 10 years. In return, I renovate them and I take care of them for 10 years. So I create the donation structure. I did $100 for a single was $100 donation, a double donation's $200, triple $500, home run $1,000, and then I'm like, you know what? I'll put grand slam donation on there, $5,000, thinking no one's gonna ever do that. And then we went to work. I started just kind of spreading it around, putting social media out there. Country Fair was our first donor, and it was $5,000 right out of the gate.
Amazing.
Didn't even hesitate. And I mean, I'm gonna forget some of them, but Plyler has donated $10,000. We had Dick's Sporting Goods come up. Pittsburgh Pirates, we got $10,000 from them. Logistics Plus, 2-time donor. J. Thomas Tree Services. Quick Fill, the Quick Fill Group. So it's just
United Refining.
United Refining, yeah. Gordon's, Merrill Lynch guys, Unishippers donated. We've just had all these people step up to the plate, literally and figuratively, and donate, and it's just been fabulous.
How much have you raised?
Well, we did the JS their JS and Bell Valley project was about $120,000.
Wow,
those are both paid for and done. And we are right now in the process of doing the 2 fields you were talking about. We have Hillside Park, which is Jethro, and Porath Field. Porath is the small field that you're thinking of. Full scoreboard, restoration, infield, dugouts. I mean, it's unbelievable. That field that'll be done by next week. End of next week, we should have that field done. In fact, I think the scoreboard's getting done today. So those are going to probably be another 110, 120,000. So we're probably close to once we get done, we're going to be close to 250 totally raised in 2 years.
There's more to do.
I mean, yeah, the big field at Hillside is going to be a little scary. Once we kind of started unpeeling that onion, there's some serious drainage issues up there. So we've kind of pivoted to say, hey, let's get the small field done.
Yep.
And we're going to knock that out and get it over with. We're working with Erie Insurance right now. Hopefully can get them involved in the project. And then once we kind of get that backing, we're going to attack Hillside. And it's going to be a big deal.
For folks who didn't grow up here, Little League Baseball was gigantic. not only was it gigantic, but they used to publish all the box scores
Just like it was a major league
like
game.
it was a major league game.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not as much detail, but you could see your kid's name in the paper. And to me, that's one of those things that I miss not having a vibrant real newspaper, right? Tom Reisenweber, isn't it right? Tom,
he does good tweeting.
He does a great job, and you can see
X or
box
whatever.
scores and that. But it was just something special. I mean, I still have things cut out where, box scores for basketball and baseball. Baseball, I remember. I mean, 2B and 3B games, like young kids, they were showing you the scores.
It's so funny. I was
in the
thinking about
paper.
it on the way down here, listening to 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. I was listening to the Ken Carmen show, and I was thinking to myself, coming down here to Cable Access Media, I'm like, you know what I miss is Tom LaCorchik's show,
Yeah.
Chico Borman's show, and I still
Mike LaCorchik, wasn't it? Wasn't
Mike
it?
LaCorchik and Chico Borman.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then Red.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
Talking about local sports.
yeah, and that's not there. It's not. And the news. I still get the paper delivered to my house. It's a couple days late and is what it is. But I like the feel of it in my hands. Call me old school. I still like to read it. But yeah, that is. I'm assuming something that's going to die with us.
Yeah.
But I think it's missing. There's a void there.
Well, I mean, I'm a old school box score junkie.
Yeah.
And when the paper was putting that up, I remember running into, in the last 3 to 5 years, I've run into somebody at GE that I've never met before. And I hear his name, and I'm like, oh, is you in relation to, you have a daughter that plays softball at Fort LaBeouf? Guy kind of looks at you like, what the hell's wrong with you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you see a name, and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's one of the best players in the Fort, but so I'm always intrigued by that, and to me it was always fun. And then when you're then you get older and you see kids, your buddies' kids playing,
Or your family's
yeah,
members, yeah,
and
Super
so
cool.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And sports in general, it's like, God, it just sits out there, right?
Mhm.
A basketball game is free to go to, it's entertaining, right? It doesn't matter where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And and the same with I really would encourage people to go just drive up and get an ice cream cone or something and go watch a baseball game, and kind of it makes you realize that part of America is still alive.
Did you see Paul Skeens? I just saw this morning. Paul Skeens,
The pitcher for the Pirates.
He was on his way home from the Pirates game the other night, 2 nights ago, I think, and saw lights on at a Little League field and pulled over and walked up on a field and played ball with the boys for like 2 hours.
Love it.
Yeah, so
Love
cool.
that story.
Yeah, super cool.
All right, let's get to some interactive things. I sent you, I gave you 5 things that you can pick. Graham Plattner's race in Maine, Kalshi and Pauley Market, beef prices, NBA Finals, and Brendan Sorsby, gambling and sports. These are 5 things that I looked at the headlines the other day and was like, all right, you get to pick one of these.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about more, we will, but pick one of those that you...
We'll go with the Sorsby, but if you want, I can give a 30-second kind of analysis on the screw worm if you want.
Yeah. That one I was intrigued by.
Yeah,
So
I kind of feel like I should.
This is,
touch on
if folks
So-
haven't paid attention, beef prices have been escalating.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about what's going on there and what the screw worm
Yeah,
is.
I think the biggest problem is we are not taking care of our farmers like we should. And I think that's a national thing. I think that's, something we need to do. I know it's an evil word, subsidized, but we have if we're going to eat healthy, rely less on other countries, we have to start taking care of the American farmer. And I think that's primarily the biggest problem. It's very difficult for them to make any money. The screw worm.
So part of before we get to the screw worm, part of what I understood is the challenge is that over drought has caused beef herds to go down.
Yeah,
and they will recover, but that was part of the challenge.
Yeah, it's drought is weather, but that's been happening forever.
That's true,
right? I think it's a lot of they've dealt with a lot of regulation restraint.
Okay.
Over the last 20 years. It's probably a little more than 20 years. But, yeah, the last 20 years they've gone through significant regulation that makes it very difficult to operate a farm. and make money, which is what you have to do.
Yeah.
It's not evil.
That's right.
So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things is trying to start peeling back a little bit of this regulation, give them what they need to produce, the higher quality U.S. beef, and I think you would see the prices settle down if that was the case. The problems that we've seen now is because of the tightening of the regulations and the difficulty for the American farmer to keep up. You see it's supply and demand, right? So supply goes down. All of a sudden you have Argentina, you have Mexico producing high levels of beef at a lower price. They don't have the regulations. That beef gets imported into the U.S., floods our market,
Undercuts
the U.S. farmer. It's not a win for the U.S., right? And it's not good. That's not. I mean, there is some that you can find that
it's
is
not
good,
as good. Yeah.
It's not as good. No, there is not. U.S. If you start looking into non-graded beefs coming from Mexico, they're not quality, and the price reflects it. I mean, you could get a beef tenderloin, from Mexico, a Mexican grade, and it's $7 a pound, and U.S. is $30. So
wow.
That's the difference.
Yep.
Retail, I'm talking.
Yep, sure.
Right. So, so that's the first problem, and then the screwworm obviously gets introduced is now a problem that we're dealing with because why?
That came from out of
Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tens of thousands of cattle.
It kills cattle, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's bad. It's really bad in Mexico. 10 last I read was 10,000 plus cattle affected by it. So immediately we have to make a decision as a country to say, hey, we got to obviously quarantine that and not bring that into the U.S. I've seen there's some flare-ups of it in maybe Texas and New Mexico. I think I just saw.
Yes. Yeah.
They're doing a pretty good job. Any spot of it, I think they found it in a dog and a couple cattle here and there, but they've done a pretty good job at putting a 12-mile quarantine on any area that it does flare up. But that's the problem with relying on Mexican beef and not U.S. beef. That problem is now our problem. Now, the biggest reason it is our problem, there's a lot of because the U.S. farmer has been put in the situation they're in, they're not producing the inventory to keep pace with the entire United States market.
Yep.
So there is a heavy reliance on the cheap beef of Mexico. So what happens is when the screwworm devastates the Mexican herds, there's now a shortage, right?
Right.
So the shortage isn't
the
really
demand really doesn't go away.
No.
The supply, though, it's classic economics.
It's classic economics. So we have a major supply issue in Mexico that we rely on, for certain segments of our food population, food needs, right? That's not here anymore. So now we're having to go to a source that is the U.S., and we don't have it. It's not there. It's like the chips, when you dealt with that, really. Now we need to start making these chips here. It's the same idea. And not potato chips I'm talking about.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Computer chips.
So, yeah. So that's really that. I think.
Well, and what did we do relative to recognizing during the pandemic about the chips? We created the CHIPS Act, and we said we are going to put some sizable cash into the hands of companies who are going to build those chips here, so we're not in that vulnerable position.
100%. And I think you're already seeing that same type of process being implemented in the beef markets and farming in general.
Yep.
We have, the Kennedy, I think, has done a really good job at trying to get America eating and thinking differently when it comes to food and food dyes and, start eating better. And I think if we can continue to go down this road of, farming our own foods, I don't think there's no lose there.
Let's go to Sorsby, and for people who aren't aware, Brandon Sorsby was a quarterback at Texas Tech. He was at some other places prior to that, and admittedly and very well documented, had bet on thousands. It sounded like thousands, or let's just say hundreds.
Yeah, no, I think it's
of games as a college athlete, and was on a permanent ban list until a judge in Texas overturned it because it would create undue harm to him and made him eligible again to play. Thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, as a Cleveland Browns fan, we will look at any quarterback prospect. So that is why he kind of, came into my reading of the last few weeks. But I think the problem, I think the problem with the NCAA. I'm a professional sports watcher. I watch college sports. I don't have a favorite team. I mean, I root for Notre Dame and in football, but I've never been all in. I think college sports has been flawed for a lot of years. I think the NCAA is a problem. I thought before what's going on now. So I think the biggest thing that I think there's so much hypocrisy floating around in professional sports and the NCAA that is coming to a bubble now with this NIL and it's Sorensby, right?
Sorensby,
Yeah,
sorry.
Sorensby issue. So I think this is all coming to a head because they really did this to themselves. It would have been very easy to say to these athletes 5-10, before the transfer portal and the NIL, to just say, hey, if they put your name on a jersey, you get paid. If Nike wants to sponsor you, you get paid.
It's unbelievable. The thing that I'm like, you see this coming. There was a lawsuit that you lost.
Yeah.
You see this coming. How did you not create guidelines around this? And how did you not talk about the money has to be directly related to your name, image, and likeness?
And that's it.
And it didn't happen. They call it nil. You don't have to do shit for that money.
No.
You don't have to do a commercial. Nothing. You just get paid money.
In fact, literally nothing. You could go to the football team that gives it to you or basketball team and not play.
And you're still getting paid because there's a contract.
Yeah. And to me, it was just very simple. They could have just done what I just spoke of, and it would have been fine. But they went to this model where everyone's getting paid. This is where greed, I guess, is not good. I think it's gotten to a point now where you have no loyalty in programs. You have coaches having a terrible time trying to build a program and coach and maintain, any sort of, standard just because you don't know who's going to be coming back next year.
That's right.
And then I think, so that's kind of part of the problem. But then when you think about the Sorensby and the gambling, that's just rich in hypocrisy too. You're telling these kids now you and I and our generation, we grew up watching Pete Rose get banned from baseball.
Yeah.
So to us, it's no, you don't gamble on sports. You know what I mean? And we couldn't unless you knew a bookie on the corner.
Yeah, unless you're
or
in
take
Vegas.
your books or go to Vegas. You didn't bet on sports unless it was with your buddies.
Yeah. And betting on sports through bookies around the country has been, that's a tale as old as time.
Right.
So that has been going on. But now you have a young kid that you're giving some form of nil to because he's a football player and he has the action. And by the way, he also probably has at least a master's degree in understanding the sport and analyzing it and watching games and saying, I think I can figure out who might win this game.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So you really you're just handing him the ammo to fire away and saying, well, why not take a shot?
But you're also telling this. So at the same time, unlike you and I, right, this kid and all these other kids in this generation have grown up with a cell phone in their hand.
Yeah.
With a button that they tap and it goes to FanDuel and they can make as many bets as they want. And not only can they make as many bets as they want, they're encouraged because every commercial they see, every other commercial on any sporting event is what? FanDuel, DraftKings, right? Any party you go to sponsored by FanDuel, DraftKings, ESPN itself has a betting app.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to tell this generation, it's one thing for our generation who wasn't immersed in that from the start, to now these kids who literally grow up doing it, to now say, well, you're not supposed to bet anymore?
Yeah.
We did this to them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, you have to show some level of restraint because
oh yeah,
you
he's
have
not
to,
in the right.
The discipline of it, but it is a terrible scenario. The other side of it is
you could argue both sides. This would be a great debate, right?
Yeah, the gambling on sports. There's a age of kid that thinks that like this has always been the case,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I am pleased that there is the debate and the discussion that's going on around this comes down to kind of like, I don't even want to say old school, but just the principle you said, you don't bet on sports. If you're playing the sport, you don't bet
Right.
on sports. And that's what's interesting, because the prohibition isn't you don't bet on your sport. It is you don't bet on sports.
Yeah.
Right? And if those walls start to collapse in, and I think that's where some of these athletic directors and others, it's like you can't you weaken that wall.
There can't be a threat of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
It's
just
100%.
could get pervasive.
I remember I when I was at Unit Shippers, I'm still at Unit Shippers, but when I was actively selling, I was at Presque Downs and Casino, and I sold them on their shipping. A bunch of stuff for their, I think it was like the horse area, and
Yeah.
but it wasn't a big account. But at the end of the meeting, they were like, "Hey, we're going to do business with you, but you have to sign here. You can't come gamble here at all." And I was like, "I'm good." I left. not because I was a big gambler, but
Right.
we take our kids up and they, watch the horses and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. I've said to people that I've never done cocaine, but I have played blackjack. And
I'm in the same boat.
And I love blackjack.
Yeah.
But I also know that
You gotta walk away.
Yeah, I got to walk away. Give that deck a shuffle, and let's and deal yourself 3 to 5 cards. You decide, and then we're gonna wrap up with some fun questions here. Hopefully fun. Some of them thoughtful. All right, I like it. The rando. All right, we got 3 questions.
Okay.
Flip it up. Which one's first?
7 of Hearts.
7 of Hearts. Your question is,
I didn't read these, so I'm totally cold.
if you had to wear a warning label, what would yours say?
Will speak his thoughts. Sometimes it gets me in trouble.
Yeah. If you ask a question,
Yeah.
it will be answered.
Yeah, you might not like it.
I love it.
Queen of Diamonds.
Queen of Diamonds. What's an experience that shaped you that maybe people beyond what we've talked about here today? What's that maybe even friends don't know as well? What's an experience that you've had in your life? Could be an individual that people don't know about. Or just share one.
Yeah, just an experience that shaped me.
You know, one of the things, and I'm not trying to answer your question for you, but I know that Jack Tufts and you were very close.
That's an easy one. Yeah, I mean, I think there's people in your life that really point where you go, in a direction. And Jack and I had Pete Flynn, Jay Pratt, Jack. I worked for Jack at J.C. Martin Golf Course during my college summer job, and he passed away recently. In fact, we're naming the scoreboard after him on 41st and Hillside Park, and he was big in that neighborhood. So, he was amazing. He was just a guy who, I worked for. He was like a second father to me, in terms of just teaching you competitiveness, doing the right thing, respecting women, just living life a certain way, just demanded things out of you. And all of his players and former employees, he was a special guy.
And very appropriate that you name a baseball field after him. He was a baseball savant.
Big time. I mean, in fact, we were down at the yacht club the other night watching the band play, and 2 guys come up to me, and I have no idea who they are. And they somehow found out who I was and what I was doing, and they went on. They said, "You're, Jack. I played for Jack 3B, and the one was played for him at Mercyhurst." And he's just like, they honestly went on for like 45 minutes, and they were just would not stop. You know what I mean? Because he made that type of impact on them, and whether it be coaching basketball, baseball, he really did it all. But he had such a profound impact on so many people in this town. It's unbelievable.
That's
and
awesome.
Not a lot of people know I worked there, and Yeah, that was my college summer job, J.C.
It's a
Martin.
great summer job.
It was amazing.
Great summer job.
And you don't know how I got the job? In the layup line at the Hammer Mill. I was playing for McDowell. Jack was the scorekeeper at the Hammer Mill for the Metro games on Tuesday and Thursday nights. And we're in the warm-up line. I don't know who we were playing. But I come around the side of the shooting side of the layup line, and I said, "Hey, Jack, you going to get me a job my senior year?" I said, "You going to get me a job this summer?" He said, "I'll let you know." And then, just in Jack tone.
Yeah.
And like 2 weeks later, my house phone rang. There's no cell phones back then. My house phone rings, and he goes, "Hey, it's Jackie boy. You being serious in the layup line?" I said, "Yeah, you joking?" I mean, it was like the greatest thing, to get a $7 an hour job, but it was
fantastic.
It was my favorite. Yeah, I loved it.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Kudos to you for making the ask and for him responding.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, flip that last card.
2 of diamonds.
All right, we got a diamond here. Hold on.
No winning card here. We got a flush draw.
All right, I've tried to avoid these questions and making it singular. When I first wrote this question, it was, who is the greatest band of all time? But we'll narrow. Who in your mind should be in the discussion of the greatest bands of all time?
Okay, so I'm a garbage disposal when it comes to music. I mean, I can listen to anything. I mean, country, soft rock, heavy rock. We listen to it all. And if you come in Gordon's, most of the time you see it. Yeah, if you come into Gordon's or Firestones, most of the time you'll notice we're always playing a bunch of anything. But I could go in different directions here. I mean, one of the ones that shaped me when I was young, Dave Matthews Band in 1995 was it.
Huge.
And, I mean, not that popular even at the time. I remember watching him at the Warner Theater, him and Tim Reynolds at the Warner Theater in 1995, and just being, blown away. You know what I mean? And he wasn't even that big then.
Buddy of mine was going to college at University of Virginia, and Dave Matthews was the local house band playing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, he was unreal. So I mean, we went to we were one of those groups of
30
friends
years.
that
Think
went
of that.
to shows. I know.
30 years he's been out there swinging away,
Makes me feel old.
and honestly, I would say that Dave Matthews, because of the volume with which he tours, and the loyalty of the fan base, and the consistency of his tours, is probably the closest to kind of and a totally different genre. So, Deadheads don't get mad at me, to the Dead.
Yeah,
because he's doing it year after year after year after year, just like they did. I mean, he loves to play, and his fans are equally similarly loyal and travel. And
I was just watching a reel this morning on him. I think he was on Fallon, and he was talking about the tape sharing.
Yes.
And they said back then there was no internet, really. So it was more, he would invite, he would do shows everywhere, and he would invite people to bootleg the show.
Sure.
Now you can't even bring your phone into shows, right?
Which is the Dead were the same way.
Yeah.
And people trade them.
Trading tapes, right? So you're trading cassette tapes, check this band out. And he said that's how we became popular. It was a cult, And, they were good. We went and followed them all around. I've probably seen 15, 20 Dave Matthews shows, which is awesome. I still get into the old 90s gangster rap. I love my Tupac, and I love my Notorious Big and Jay-Z. I can get down with all that still. Country, big George Strait fan. I like a lot of the classic country. I like the 2000s country music. Really, really enjoy that. But yeah, I grew up as a Beatles kid. So my dad was in bands. My dad, his whole life, and
that's cool.
Yeah. So he's been in. Yeah, he's always playing music, and I grew up with Beatles. It was on the record player all the time. I can almost through osmosis or whatever you want to call it, like it soaked into my brain. Like a Beatles song will turn on somewhere and I'll know the words, and I don't. Hadn't heard it in 40 years sometimes.
Yeah, that's wild. It's part of your DNA.
Yeah. So I grew up a Beatles kid, so I still listen to a lot of Beatles.
Do you ever hear that video of Jack White? Says he can name, and they start playing like 2 notes,
And he can say it.
and he knows what the song is.
I could probably.
It's pretty wild.
It's crazy how much. It's weird. Like, I'll just start singing the song, and I'm like, how do I know this?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll tell you, Sunday morning, after church, my dad cooking breakfast, I can hear it and walk, just in our kitchen.
That's a great memory.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
a great memory.
Yeah, it was cool. I have appreciation for music. I think because of them, we always had music playing, just always. And last night we've had 2 funerals in the last 2 days, but the family got together last night and we were all together, eating. And
was that an uncle of yours that died?
Yeah, that was my dad's uncle.
Okay.
And then Tom Richter.
Yeah,
which we
great guy. He worked.
know.
Yeah, he worked for the chamber at one point.
Yeah, and he worked for me for 12 years. So, yeah, I was at Schmidt Funeral Home twice in 2 days, which was it's not fun.
Tom was one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet.
Unbelievable. I tell his story. This one quick one here, but he was the most regimented human being I've ever met. His day was down to the minute. He went to the bathroom at 8:54. He had a cigarette at 8:57.
Yeah.
He made his first call at 9. He went to Subway at 11:47. Got the same exact chicken teriyaki sub. The girls at Subway knew they would have it waiting on the thing. I mean, it was every single day. And Tommy would he had a problem with change. Like, if anything broke his schedule, it bugged him. And we had a Georgia Pacific paper towel dispenser in the unit shipper's bathroom. We still do. And that was his job to let me know when the paper towels were running low. Kyle, need to order some paper towels.
Yeah.
So I would always just text my wife. She would order them from Amazon. And I'd bring them in. Well, Tommy, I forgot one time. There's no paper towels. So my one sales rep calls me, says, "Where the heck are you?" I'm like, "I'm almost there." He goes, "You got to get in here. You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Tom is on the phone with Georgia Pacific." The paper towel dispenser was a Georgia Pacific paper towel dispenser.
Yeah.
He calls Georgia Pacific in Delaware, corporate headquarters, like the $14 billion paper company.
What's the conversation?
It's Tom Richter. Richter is in the Richter scale. And I need to order. I'm calling from Unit Shippers in Erie, Pennsylvania. I need to order some paper towels.
Oh, my God.
I said, by this point, I'm in the building.
Yeah.
I said, "Tommy, what are you doing?" He goes, "I'm on the phone with Georgia Pacific ordering some paper towels." I'm like, "Okay, we're going to let this one go for a little bit."
Yeah.
I wish I could have been on the other line.
Oh, God, that's fantastic.
Who knows what she said to him?
That's fantastic.
And he's like, "No." He says, "No, just 6 paper towel rolls. Just 6 rolls." Paper towels. I said, "Tommy, hang up the phone."
Oh, my God.
So he hangs up the phone. I said, "Allison orders those paper towels." You know. But the point being, Tommy was just awesome, hilarious. He was a part of our office, so it sucked to lose him. But
then, anyways, you came home and
put music on.
Yeah.
Right. So we had the family. We were all together. Playing some slow rock tunes. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kyle, thank you. This has been great. Thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks for the investments you made in Erie. Thanks for the volunteer. I mean, the baseball field stuff is pretty awesome. The coaching, just you're giving back a lot. You've been given a lot, and I've got some great mentors, but you don't have to, and you are. And so thanks. Appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Jake.
This is great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. And go buy yourself a steak at Gordon's. Have a great day.